It doesn't exist. It has no substance, no weight, no location in reality, and it controls where you sleep, who respects you, and whether you're free. You've been ruled your whole life by a ghost, and you call it money. Introduction. Check your bank balance right now. What did you actually look at? Not gold, not paper, not even a promise. You looked at a number in a database, a pattern of electrical charges in a server farm you will never visit, maintained by people you will never meet. And yet that number decides where you sleep tonight, whether you see a doctor when something feels wrong, who takes you seriously in a room, whether you can walk away from a job that is slowly hollowing you out, or whether you'll be back at that desk on Monday smiling through it. Here's the uncomfortable part. That number has power over you for one reason. Everyone agrees that it does. Not physics, not nature. Consensus. Withdraw the agreement, all of it, everywhere, at once, and the number becomes what it always was. Nothing. A ghost with your name on it. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's worse, because there's no one behind the curtain. There is only the curtain, and we are all holding it up together. So we're going to trace how that agreement was engineered, watch what happens when it collapses, and ask why digits on a screen can command your physical body. And then the hardest question. Once you've seen that money is a hallucination, how do you keep living inside it without losing your mind or your rent? Because seeing through the illusion is easy. Living wisely inside it is not. Money as a story we all agree to tell. You were probably taught the story like this. First there was barter. A farmer with wheat wanted shoes, but the shoemaker didn't want wheat, so humanity invented money to solve the mismatch. Clean, logical, repeated in every textbook for 2 centuries, and almost certainly false. Anthropologists have spent decades searching for a society that actually ran on barter. They keep not finding one. What they find instead are debts, favors, gifts, obligations, webs of memory. Your neighbor helped you raise a barn. You owe him something someday, and everyone quietly keeps track. The original economy wasn't a marketplace. It was a ledger written in relationships. Money didn't replace barter. Money replaced trust. It took the personal accounting of who owes whom and made it cold, portable, and precise. The moment value could be carried in your pocket, it no longer had to live between people. Money has always been social technology, not a thing, but a relationship flattened into a token. And watch what the token does across the centuries. It sheds weight. It becomes less real and more powerful at every step. Cattle becomes silver. Silver becomes coin stamped with a king's face. And pay attention to that face, because it's the tell. You needed a story about who stood behind it. Coins become paper receipts. Then the receipts circulate on their own, and people forget to ask what's behind them. And then in August 1971, the United States quietly cut the final thread, ending the dollar's convertibility to gold. It was announced on a Sunday night, like a scheduling change. Since that evening, the world's dominant money has been backed by nothing except a sentence. Trust us. Here's the twist your textbook won't say out loud. Untethered from metal, money became pure narrative, and narrative scales infinitely. Central banks became its editors, conjuring trillions with keystrokes, managing not gold reserves, but something far more fragile. Expectations. A modern central banker's real job is theater. Speak confidently, and the currency holds. Hesitate, and markets convulse on the other side of the planet. Every dollar you hold is a chapter of a story 8 billion people are telling each other, in unison, without pause, because pausing is unthinkable. But sometimes, the story pauses anyway, and when it does, we see the machinery with the lights on. What hyperinflation reveals about the leaf. Germany, 1923. A loaf of bread costs 200 billion marks. Workers are paid twice a day and sprint to the shops at lunchtime because by evening their morning wages will buy less. Restaurants stop printing prices. The numbers can't keep up between courses. People burn banknotes for heat because the paper is worth more as fuel than as money. A woman leaves a basket of cash outside a shop for 1 minute. A thief steals the basket and leaves the money on the ground. Zimbabwe, 2008. The government prints a $100 trillion note. It cannot buy a bus ticket. We call this hyperinflation, and economics gives the mechanical explanation. Too much money chasing too few goods. True, but stand closer. The paper didn't change, the ink didn't change, the watermark, the signature, the seal, all still there, all still perfect. The numbers only got bigger. What died was invisible. What died was the belief. Hyperinflation is the moment the congregation stops praying mid-sentence and looks around at each other. And what it reveals is terrifying in its simplicity. The spell only ever worked because everyone was casting it together. Money's value doesn't live in the money. It lives in your confidence that the next person will accept it, which depends on their confidence in the person after them. It is faith all the way down, a chain of belief with no anchor at the end. There was never an anchor. There was only the chain holding itself up. And here is the detail that should unsettle you. Watch what people reach for when the chain snaps. Cigarettes, tins of food, foreign banknotes smuggled in mattress linings, gold. Not because those things are magic, but because the community's faith migrates to a new vessel, overnight, by instinct. The hallucination doesn't end, it changes hosts. Humans cannot function without a shared fiction of value. When one collapses, we improvise another before nightfall. In prison yards, in refugee camps, in failed states, we would rather believe in anything together than nothing alone. Which raises a darker question. If money is only belief, why does it hold such absolute power over your body? Why digits on a screen control real bodies? Here's the paradox that should keep you up at night. Money is imaginary. Your hunger is not. Money is a story. Your landlord's eviction notice is not. Somehow the fiction reaches out of the collective mind and moves actual matter. Your body, at 6:45 in the morning, into traffic, into a chair, under fluorescent light, for 8 hours, for 40 years. How does a hallucination grow hands? Because it isn't a private hallucination. It's a collective one, and collective fictions are the most real things humans have ever built. Nations are fictions. You can't find a border in the soil. Laws are fictions. They're ink and agreement. Corporations are fictions. You cannot shake hands with one. None of them exist in nature, and every one can put you in a cell. A fiction believed by millions, enforced by courts and hunger and shame, is harder than concrete. You can get through concrete with explosives. You cannot blast your way through a wall of consensus. There's nothing there to hit. And money is the master fiction, the one all the others use to keep score. The nation taxes in it. The corporation pays in it. The law fines in it. It decides, without appeal, whose hour of life is worth $600 and whose is worth 7. It converts your heartbeats into a number, then whispers that the number was never enough. Notice how deep the possession goes. You don't just use money, you think in it. You call your salary what you're worth, and some part of you believes the word. You feel the balance in your account not as information, but as sensation, safety or shame, somewhere in your chest. A stock index dips, an abstraction of an abstraction, and real cortisol floods real bloodstreams in 10,000 cities at once. Marriages strain, sleep breaks, hearts give out over a number no one can touch. The digits control your body because your body was recruited into the story before you could speak. Your parents were already performing it. Their fears became your instincts. You never signed anything. You were born on stage, mid-performance, and handed a script you learned by heart before you could question a single line. So the question isn't whether you're in the play. You are. It's whether you can put the script down. Seeing through the fiction without falling out of it. There are 2 ways to fail this test, and almost everyone fails in one direction or the other. The first failure is total belief, the default setting. Money becomes your god, your mirror, your scoreboard, your permission slip. You defer living until the number is big enough, and the number is never big enough, because it answers to no one and has no finish line drawn anywhere on it. Ask the people who reached the number they swore would be enough. The goalposts moved the week they arrived. People die at their desks, still waiting for permission to start. The second failure is total disbelief. You see the trick, declare the whole thing meaningless, and opt out. This feels like enlightenment for about a month. Then the fiction you no longer believe in evicts you. Because here is the trap, and it's airtight. You can stop believing in money, but money does not stop believing in you. A hallucination shared by everyone else on Earth is, for all practical purposes, the weather. You don't have to worship the rain. You do have to come in out of it. The narrow path between them is the actor's stance. A great actor plays the role completely, hits every mark, weeps real tears if the scene demands it. In some quiet back room of the mind, that it is a role. That is what it means to hold money lightly. Use the fiction, refuse to be used by it. In practice, it sounds like small heresies. It's saying I can't afford that, out loud, without flinching, because the number measures your account and not your soul. It's catching yourself the moment before you trade something real, an evening with someone who loves you, your health, your honesty, for something notional, and asking the exchange rate out loud. It's remembering what money is once you strip the mythology away. Stored optionality, frozen choices, a battery for future freedom. And a battery is worthless if you die with it fully charged. It also means letting money be what it's good at. It buys exits. It buys time. It buys the ability to say no. Those are real, and pretending otherwise is just the second failure wearing a spiritual costume. Take the game seriously. Don't take it personally. The goal was never to escape the story. There is no outside. Even the hermit's mountain is priced. The goal is to remember, while everyone around you sleepwalks through the performance, that you are performing. And to save your genuine belief for the things that never needed consensus to be real. The body you're in, the people you love, the hours you have left. Call to action. Dream Spindle takes the invisible systems you live inside and holds them up to the light, one essay at a time. Money was only the first curtain. There's a great deal more to see through. Outro. Tomorrow morning, the hallucination resumes on schedule. Markets will open. Numbers will move. 8 billion people will wake and agree, without a word, that the dream is real, because the alternative is unthinkable, and because breakfast isn't free. You'll agree too. You have to. But something is different now, and it can't be undone. It doesn't exist. It has no substance, no weight, no location in reality. And now that you know, one question follows you out of this video, into the checkout lines, the salary negotiations. It was always going to be a dream. But whose dream are you living?